We've got a few people to introduce. We've got Miss Kelly Kinzer. Yeah. Kelly started in 2010. She's at 3.6 million in career sales. What I think is even more impressive about that number is that 842,234 of that is strictly business gifts, like not just business gifts, but also CGC, like total career gifting CPO. That's almost like a full third. Her 2023 business sales was 70,000. She has been full-time sales since 2013, the same year she won a Silver Cup, Rolex in 2016, Hall of Fame in 2017. Amongst her proudest accomplishments, selling 500K, plus 2021, now works part-time to take care of their daughter while making full-time income. I think that's pretty amazing. Fun fact, if you guys couldn't tell, she has baby number 2 on the way. That is not just from her going and eating around the world at Epcot on Monday. So, we also have Andy Jonty. Andy started in 2001, 6.1 million in career sales. He sold $282,000 in business gifts last year out of his $682,000 a year total. He's currently the #1 all-time residential rep in career sales on the east side of the U.S. Broken the Eastern Region SC2 record, not 5, not 6, not 7, 9 times since 2011. Most recent was this past year at $121,000 for SC2. He also co-pioneered the federal program with Keith. He's mentored 7 Silver Cup champions and 6 Rolex winners. He's the #1 overall sales rep and business gift rep in 2023 for the Eastern region. 45%, by the way, of his business orders were reorders, so getting that repeat customer business. Fun fact about Andy is he has 3 kidneys and speaks 4 languages. And last but not least, we have Mr. Brian Carter. Started in 2003. Brian is at 2.5 million in personal sales, but 15 million in his office sales. So I didn't even factor that into the sales total on stage here. He sold 125K in 2023 in business gifts and CGC, and it all came at events or from events. Let me see here. Over 40K so far this year in business gifts and CGC, mostly business gifts, again, just through events and event leads. He's the TGP coordinator, as we all know, for the last 10 years, celebrating 15 years of marriage this November. And he spends time hanging out with his boys, chasing after his German Shepherd, Sadie. And his whole goal is creating a sustainable business gift layer through traditional events. And then, Philip, you want to come back on up here? You are leading this panel, my man. All right.
There should be another microphone on there, another handheld.
Yeah, for sure. Got it. Perfect. Is it on?
Is this on? Yeah, there we go.
Awesome.
There we go.
All right, guys, I'm back.
Thank you.
All right, business gift panel. We got a powerhouse trio up here. So the outcome of this panel is I want you guys to understand that you can do it too. You can do what all of us are doing. And I want you to leave this panel inspired to go out and start crushing business gifts. So the 8 things that we're going to cover during the panel is what are some of the tools that you need at the booth to help you sell business gifts. Kelly's going to go over a couple of approaches that she uses at the booth. We're going to go over our gifting display. What would that need to look like? We're also going to go over some luxury gifting. Brian's been really good at that the last couple of years. We're going to talk about closing at the booth, how to actually do that, what's the process of it. Talk a little bit about follow-up. It's not a follow-up panel, but we're going to talk a little bit about how to schedule follow-up and maybe a little bit about what that looks like, how to organize your leads, and then we're going to kick it off at the end with how to pique interest at the booth. What are some good questions to ask? So to start us off, we're going to start with Andy. What are some of the tools that you can use at the booth or that it would be beneficial to have at the booth to help you sell business gifts?
Thank you, Philip. So I just wanted to have a little bit of fun with that. So I know you said what are the tools that you need. So I'm going to go with what are the tools that you want.
Perfect. Whatever fits the budget.
That's right. And this, no. All right. So what do you want? So you want to, first of all, go on Vector Connect and get very familiar with the business gifts section. That's going to be a platform for you to go back to all the time. So real quick, go to Vector Connect's sales tools, business gift program, and then for now, what I'm going to talk about is the business gift toolkit. So these are some of the tools that you want to have. So when you go there, you'll see there's a lot of different things. The gifting team and our consultants worked really hard on putting some of those things together to really give you the confidence to make it very easy for you. So what I'm going to mention you want to look for, number one, you need the handbook. The handbook is the first thing you have to buy to be able to get anything else. It comes with all of the materials, the literature, all of the little things that you don't know that you're always asking questions, whether it's fonts or everything that you need to know, it's all in there. Second thing, you want some brochures. The brochures is like the trifold. It comes in a pack of 25. It really helps. It's like a leaving piece. And back in the day, it was the only thing we had for the booth, but to show people. But it's a perfect thing to leave people to go with, and you can attach your business card to it. It gives an overview of the program if they need to share with other people. Number three, you need the samples. Now, obviously, you're going to hear that over and over and over again. The biz samples, which are engraved items with approved logos, that makes, and I know Philip was talking about this earlier, that is beautiful. As he was saying, it doesn't have to be, but this one actually is. We put it together. There's a lot of different logos. It'll make your job easier. Number four, you want the laminated booklet. That's brand new. It's kind of like the family program, and you can use this if you're a little nervous to go through the program. Like basically use it as your guide because it has pictures of logos. It also tells a little bit about, like it has some testimonials. It has all the different things that you need to share. So I always tell people it's so easy to start. Just go there, get those things, and then start talking about it. Ask everyone, and it just makes it easier. But that laminated booklet, you're going to love that. And then the last thing, which is probably one of my favorites, which I think is very important, especially for this panel, is the Padfolio with the spiral notebook. So if you're not able to close at the booth, which of course we all want to, but there's so much business that happens after, you want to have this because it also helps you collect a lot of the information. So those are the 5 things that you absolutely want to get started to give you the confidence. So
Awesome. Thank you, Andy. Hope you guys took those notes, wrote those down, and let's go to Vector Connect after the conference sometime this week, and let's go ahead and get familiar with the business gift section of Vector Connect. Next up, we're going to bring up Kelly, and Kelly's going to talk about what are some of the approaches at the event. And I've got 2 scenarios for her. Situation number 1 is, let's say that you've already pitched residential. Maybe they're buying a homemaker or something like that. How do you bring up business gifts after the residential pitch?
Okay. So as I'm writing up the order, again, just like Philip said, it's just a casual rapport building question. I'm excited for you guys. You're going to love the signature set. Hey, by the way, do you happen to own a business or give gifts to clients or employees? Oh, you do? What kind of business do you own? Let them tell you about it. Awesome. And who do you currently give gifts to? Again, learning about their business, right? Who do they give gifts to? Have you ever seen what we do for businesses? And that's a great question because it kind of piques their interest. Oh, no, right? We've just spent 20, 30 minutes telling them all about Cutco, so now they're familiar with it, but they don't know what we do for businesses. They haven't been thinking with a business mindset yet. So I grab a gift set, should be right next to you. Grab a gift set with a cool logo and show them. Well, what we do is we take that awesome Cutco product that you now know and love, and we actually engrave it with your logo or your client's name or any info you want on there. We do that right there on the blade, okay? So this turns your regular client gift into a long-term branding tool, which is really cool because instead of giving something consumable like a gift card or bottle of wine or basket, something they're gonna eat, drink, spend, forget about, or something that just kind of sits around and collects dust, we wanted something that they're gonna use every single day, right? Something that's high quality, something that's American made, something that the whole family is gonna use, and something that they're gonna use every day for 20, 30, 40 years, right? Which is just gonna help with the repeat and referral business that we're looking for, right? And your logo's on there, so they're never gonna forget who gave it to them. It's like the business card that's safe to go in the dishwasher, okay? Now I'm curious, how much are you spending on a gift right now for your clients? Oh, $300, cool, awesome, yeah. Now, by the way, are you the only decision maker on something like this, or would there be somebody else who kind of gives input on like your gifting decisions? And that's an important question to ask, right? Because that tells us if we can make a decision here today or if this is going to need to be followed up with later. Oh, awesome, you guys. Okay, husband and wife here. Can I show you the different gift sets we have? Great. And then I'm gonna walk through. And if they say $300, then I'm gonna go to $300 price point gifts, right? Just to kind of make it easy. So it's a easy transition here. By the way, you know, you guys really liked, I know she really liked the shears, and I know you guys really like that small chopping knife. We actually have a gift set that has those two pieces in it. Comes in this cute little gift box. And funny thing, it happens to be right about $300. So do you guys like that gift set? You know, we're gonna walk through gift sets and kind of figure out what they really like. By the way, what color do you like? I know you're getting the white in your set. Do you guys like the white handles for gifts too? Yeah, I know, it's beautiful, it's luxury, but it still stands out in a really cool way. Awesome. Now, okay, my last question for you. I know you don't have a crystal ball, but in the next 12 months, how many clients do you anticipate you'd be giving a gift like this to? And that's usually the hardest question for them to answer. A lot of times they're like, I don't know, I have to think about it, I gotta go look at my numbers, we gotta see what we did last year, okay? And then I usually follow up with, yeah, I know you don't know the exact number, that's totally cool. Would you say it's closer to 10, 50, 500? And when you throw those numbers out, they start to go, oh, okay, she just needs an approximation. So they'll think and they'll go, I don't know, we probably give like 2 or 3 a month. Okay, perfect. So now I know we're looking at 25 to 35 gifts a year, right? So I'm gonna open up the business gift pricing, the volume pricing. We're gonna look at like gifts in that price range at that quantity, right? And we'll go into closing in a little bit, but that's kind of the basic pitch.
Awesome. Perfect, thank you. We got part 2, so situation number 2. Yeah, go ahead, guys. Awesome. So situation number 2, somebody walks up that's clearly a business owner. Maybe it's somebody you plucked out of the crowd that they had like a logo on or a hat or something like that. What is the approach if you actually, let's assume they don't even know what Cutco is. How do you come off the top with business gifts?
Yep. Hey, is that your logo on your hat? Right, same kind of thing, like pull them in, get them interested. Oh, awesome, what kind of business do you have? Very cool. I'm curious, in your business, do you ever give gifts to clients or employees or referrals or anybody? Oh, you do, cool. Have you ever seen what we do for businesses? Okay, and I'm just curious, are you familiar with Cutco? Do you know anything about us? Because a lot of times they do, right? Oh, my sister has Cutco. Oh yeah, I think my wife has a set, right? But let's say they don't. Yeah, no worries. So I'm actually surprised you haven't heard of Cutco. It's awesome. But we are actually like the Rolex of kitchen knives, okay? All of our products are super high quality. They're American made. They're guaranteed forever, just like Snap-on tools. So by the way, are you familiar with K-Bar? Okay, cool, yeah, so Cutco actually owns K-Bar. So we have a whole line of outdoor knives, sporting knives, fishing knives, pocket knives, but then we also have all of our kitchen knives, and these bad boys right here, these are called our super shears. Now I'm gonna show you this, I'm gonna cut a penny. These are actually not your average kitchen scissors. These are called our super shears because they'll cut through carpet, plastic, cardboard, chicken bones, crab legs. You can use them in the garden, in the garage. They come apart for easy cleaning. So you can throw them in the dishwasher just like the rest of our stuff. It's pretty awesome. So basically what we do for businesses is we take those awesome Cutco products and we engrave your logo right there on the piece. And then we just go into the same pitch.
Awesome, thank you so much. I'll give her a round. Killing it. So it doesn't matter if it's off the top or after residential. You can pitch it both ways. I think it was really good to see that. Next up, we're going to bring up Brian. And Brian's going to talk a little bit about the gifting display. And Brian, I just wanted to know, what is your philosophy on gifting displays at the booth?
I have so many philosophies about literally everything. Y'all didn't clap for Andy before, and that's not cool. Let's love on Andy Jonty. TGP, what's our most underutilized form of social correction? Shame. All right. It's one of my life philosophies. So when it comes to displays for your business gifts, this is an area that I have really strong opinions on. Business gifts have become such a fun and interesting layer for me. I learned it from Kelly Kinzer. By the way, my scripts I learned from her. I learned from Josh. I refined them with Joseph Rodriguez. And getting a chance to watch and work with Calvin and Stephen and people like that have helped make it better. So when it comes to my display, I kind of have 7 points to this. And yeah, if you want, feel free to jot them down. First off, your display needs to be eye-catching. I look at a lot of people's business gift displays, and I find that the gifts are lost in just sort of the mess of a booth. And I don't say mess in a negative way. Like, there's so much stuff we need to display: gadgets, flatware, cookware, kitchen knives, boards, brochures. The gifts, they tend to just get put wherever they fit in. But in my experience, it's like cookware. Back in the day, we used to have 4 pieces of cookware, and so there'd be 3 people working, and it's like, you get a pan, you get a Dutch oven lid, okay? And it was just weird, and it was a non sequitur. But now we know if we put the legacy cookware together, it draws eyes. People who are looking for cookware are drawn to it, and it's easier to talk about it and promote it. I feel the same way with business gifts. I feel like your business gift display should never have to compete with any other thing. Now, again, I'm not telling you it's the right way. I'm just telling you it's my opinion. So literally, like, right off to the next of my boards, like, I have my gifts lined up. And I've got a photo. I'll put it in the Fire Group Me that sort of shows the way that we like to do it. But I do think that having your gifts together and not having them competing with anything else is a better way to do it. I closed at our stock show this last weekend. I did some follow-up, 4 or 5 days later, and I closed on 20 of the mini veggie knives. And it was literally to a customer that, like, they just walked up to my gift display. They're like, oh, wow, this is kind of interesting. Like, look at all that. There was no pitch. They kind of knew what Cutco was, but they walked up because they were a business owner. But my display is set up in such a way where even though that might be rare, I'm at least allowing for the potential for that to happen. Second bullet point, I think you need a variety of pieces, sets, and options. You need a variety of pieces, set, and options. Mix up colors, mix up sets, and it is essential that you have a 2-piece and a 3-piece set. Okay, Seth Kinzer, he helped me find religion on this. He explained it to me years ago at the State Fair of Texas, and God bless him for it. But he said, if you don't have a 3-piece set, if you only have a 2-piece set, and that's the largest thing in there, then the starting point is going to be a 2-piece set. Just think about, guys, if you set up your Cutco booth, and instead of having an ultimate set out there, the biggest set you had is a homemaker, what's the ceiling on what your customers are at least initially considering or looking at? Yeah, so if you don't have a 3-piece set, well, thank God you saved $137 at a third credit, okay? Like, it's insane. Like, literally, if you don't have one, just order it now. Like literally, just get a 3 Santoku set. But I think having that is absolutely essential. And so mix up some colors, mix up what you have, but for sure you need a 3-piece set. Third bullet point, verticality. Again, even when people have a dedicated business gift display, I see a lot of people, they just have them flat on the table, and it's just not particularly eye-catching. Now, the challenging part sometimes is figuring out how to display with the new deluxe boxes. By the way, the new deluxe boxes are sexy. They're awesome, okay? So, please, I don't want Amy or anyone to hear me wrong. I love those boxes. But sometimes you have to get creative for how you display them. But I think still having stands where things are propped up. My just dumb ghetto solution is I literally just got a thing of index cards at Target, and I opened the lid, and I just stacked the amount where the lid just sat flat, and I wrapped tape around it. Do you follow me on that? And then I set the box on there, and then I stacked enough index cards for the next lid to open up, and now it's just like tiered. Index cards, okay? Like, we MacGyvered this thing. It's wrapped in electrical tape, and I've been dragging it around for 2 years now. I had someone, they're like, do you sell that? And I was like, do I sell index cards? No, I don't sell that. I do not do that. Fourth bullet point, you need visually interesting and eye-catching logos. You need visually interesting and eye-catching logos. I think ideally having your own customer logos that you can share and be able to talk about is superior. Make sure that you print a stack of logo consent forms and just have them at the booth so that way when you're talking gifts, when you close on the spot, you can go ahead and just fill that out, and that way you can order samples to have in your display. I had a longtime customer of mine. You know what? I'll save that. But guys, I find a lot of people, they have just very text-based logos, very small logos. I think you need a few things that are eye-catching. I will tell you the cheat code is an outdoorsman. Anyone here have an outdoorsman with a giant sexy logo on it? It's stupid, y'all. Like, it is a cheat code. The engravable space on an outdoorsman is like disproportionately high compared to most knives. And so like that's a really useful piece to have in the contrast of the black and the silver that cuts through. It's really eye-catching. Also the 2135, the new 6-inch veggie knife, like the engravable space on that relative to the size of it is significant. Like having one of those in a nice box with a big graphic logo, I think is huge. Next bullet point. Guys, you want to have a variety of industries represented. And again, ideally your own customers when you can. For mine, I can go through a list here in a second, but I had a customer, Mike and Liz Bassett, and they've been customers of mine for a long time, and they've bought a lot of Cutco because he is an attorney and they can afford to buy a lot of Cutco. All right, I'm reasonably competent. Any one of y'all would have sold them all this Cutco, but they're my customers and not yours. All right. I had talked to them about gifts for years and they did not care. Didn't care. And they're at that point where they have outfitted their home, they've bought for their children. And one of the things I always talk about when I cover family program is that eventually every gold star client you have, all your best clients, eventually your relationship with them will sunset. They will run out of things to buy if you do not get them into gifting. That's just a fact. Every gold star you have, sure, they'll come see you at fairs because they like you. They'll buy a new paring knife once every 4 years, and that's it. But your relationship will sunset if you don't ultimately transition them to gifting. That is why I'm so bullish on family program. Thank you, Curtis. Curtis is the one who taught me that. But gifting is just the other. It's all the same to me. It's just family program or business gifts. It's the same emotional close. It's the same points, and it's the same urgency for me. So with Mike and Elizabeth, I had mentioned it, but he just always blew me off. Well, I asked him offhand. I said, hey, by the way, do you know anyone over at Jackson Lewis? And he just looks at me and he goes, I do. And Jackson Lewis is a big family law firm in DFW. And I said, oh my gosh, I work with Megan. She's one of the partners there. She actually uses our product for appreciation gifts. I think we talked about that. I'm trying to remember, did we talk about that in the past? Of course we talked about that in the past. And this man, he melted. He literally just goes, you do stuff with Jackson Lewis? I was like, I do. And he goes, send me a sample. And I go, what do you want me to send you? And he just goes, send me a sample. And for the last 2 years, they bought 50 gifts. They do a mix of 2-piece and single sets. And but that was it. But I needed the credibility of being able to name drop that other thing. By the way, and attorneys, that's a big thing I found. Once I got the one was challenging. I have 4 different law firms I'm currently working with, and we're gonna keep expanding that. Getting my first dentist as a client was challenging. Once I got 1, now I have 3. You start to build some credibility, but that's where having your own stories is useful. Let's see, last 2 things on here. Get more blue-collar industries. Get more blue-collar industries. Now, the samples you get from the company are fantastic, and that's the right place for literally anyone to start. Spend the money, order the samples, get it done. But I do think there is room for growth, even on that, and I think National would probably agree. We're all a work in progress. I do find most of the samples that are provided are very white-collar. It's Coldwell Banker. It's kind of like financial services companies. I see a lot of head nods. You guys know what I'm talking about. For the people here, that sell a lot of business gifts, y'all sell a lot of construction companies? Because I do. You sell to pool companies? You sell to things like that? Yeah. So I think having more blue-collar industries represented is extremely helpful. Construction companies, backhoe companies, handyman. Okay, if you don't have just a regular pocket knife, I know lockbacks are sexy, but pocket knives are a beautiful price point because you can get that down. Find some handyman and just buy one for them, just to have their logo on file. Okay, I have 3 different handymen, and those are good. And they're steady. They're just steady, in and out. I know every year at the fair, they're gonna buy 20 gifts from me. They'll buy 10 pocket knives, and they'll buy 10 other just little random single knives. But they're steady. They've been doing it for 4 years now. Okay, they're not the big sexy budget, but that's an easy 2 to 3K that I can just count on every year at the fair, and it makes one of my days look a little bit better. All right. Let's see. The last thing is, guys, use your boards, your gadgets, and your accessories as opportunities to display other logos and have more stories to tell. At the NET in 2021, the virtual NET, that was fun. Sorry, I won't bring all that up. Remember when we weren't together? Isn't it nice being together, guys? I miss my family. I miss the tribe, and we're not together. But guys, I was asked to do my business gift approach, which was sloppy then, and it looks the same now. But I shared a lot of the stories that I use. I can post the video of that, but it's in every other place you would find net videos. But guys, I use my boards, and I am a big believer of having boards. I think customers are inherently visual and tactile, so I think having knives out is just my own personal opinion. But it gives me the opportunity to display these other logos, and I am ready. I am ready. Like, I'll be working with Josh, and if the opportunity presents itself, if someone is like, oh, we're a home appraiser, I'll be like, oh, do you know A Affordable Home Appraisers? And I pull my Petite Chef out because I have a home appraiser on that knife. And by the way, it doesn't matter to other customers that all my knives have logos on them. Every knife with reasonable surface area and gravable space has it on there. As a quick list, and then I'll stop talking, I have a financial services company on my cleaver. I have a ranch on my butcher knife. I have a law firm on my Petite Santoku, construction company on my shears, a handyman on a pocket knife, a dentist on my 7-inch Santoku, a home appraiser on my Petite Chef, a real estate agent on my pizza cutter, a patio screening company on my turn and serve, an oil company on my spatula spreader, an insurance company engraved on the plate for my ultimate set. That was my first big build-a-set customer, a land clearing company on my clip point, and my drop point has a pipeline company. My K-bars are also engraved, and I have a lot of military stuff too. And by the way, the worst case scenario is someone picks up a spreader and they're like, does it always say Pecco oil? I'm like, nope, just for you, okay? Just have fun with it, guys. But all of a sudden then, your whole booth and display, if you're willing to invest a little bit of money, because what do we do to problems? We throw money at it. If you're willing to invest a little bit of money, your entire booth and display can be transformed into a business gift sales tool. But guys, please make sure you're doing things the right way. Get consent forms for your logos. Find good logos that have been approved through Olean so you can find things that are visually interesting and do it the right way.
Wow. We're going to keep him up here because he's going to do the next one. But first, I don't know if you guys noticed. If you're not taking notes, that's crazy because I'm up here on stage running the panel, and I just opened up my notes, and I just took 3 takeaways from that. So I want to share those real quick because I think this was fire. Get a 3-piece display. Starting points higher. You know, we were taught back in the day, show ultimates, you'll sell more homemakers. Show 3 pieces, you'll sell more 2 pieces, okay? The second one is blue-collar samples. I echoed that in my message as well, remember? A lot of service-based companies, the people, the small businesses, the ones that we're working with directly, get some blue-collar samples. And then use existing display pieces as opportunities to display. If you look at a lot of these guys, Bert specifically is the first one I saw. He's got his ulti pieces out, his ultimate upgrade pieces, and all of the big knives have a logo on it. And it's killer. And I'm like, dude, that takes up no extra space. And it's an easy transition into like, why is that logo there? Oh, well, this is what we do, and they're asking you about it. You don't even have to bring it up. So that was killer. Thank you so much. So give Ryan another round of applause for that. Now you have to follow that up with just a couple of stories about luxury gifts. And when I say luxury gifts, I mean they're spending $1,000 plus. Maybe they're buying signatures, ultimates, block sets. That's what we're talking about now. Take it away, Brian.
Yeah, we'll do it. I'll go pretty quick through this. Guys, luxury gifts have been a really fun wrinkle for me over the last year or so. I would say I accidentally sold 1 or 2 last spring, where I had one of the construction companies I work with that bought 2 ultimate sets. And you know, what kind of precipitated this, these were customers I was already selling some gifts to, and they said, oh my gosh, I don't know how many of these things we have to give for the Johnson project or whatever it was. And I go, what is that project? And they go, it's a lodge we're building. Because this is like, they do horse barns and arenas and big stuff like that. And they were building this like $5 million lodge. And I was like, well, you sure as hell don't give them a $200 knife pack. And they're like, what do you do? And I just turned in the business gift pricing thing, which thank God that I didn't have to think of that stuff, that the company's done it for us. Thank you for the business gift group that helps do all those things as I drop my phone. That's how excited I am. I'll just throw it to the ground. Okay? But I just turned to that, and they were like, wow, that is gorgeous. And we just painted a picture of seeing their logo and getting them excited about it, and they just bought it. And like I said, I think that first time it happened, it was just totally on accident. But then I realized, I was like, oh, shoot, is this in play? You know what I mean? Like, is this a thing? It's like the first time you sell like a bigger package that you actually sold because you're skilled and not because they just bought it. And you're like, I wonder if I could do this again. You know, I wonder if I could do this again. So when it comes down to this with luxury gifts, the big thing to keep in mind is that you want to use third-party stories and try and connect the price points of a signature and ultimate set to other expensive things people are doing for their key relationships. Okay. So far this year, I've sold 3 ultimate sets as luxury gifts. I sold 2 signature sets, all with steak knives. Out of my $45,000 I've sold in business gifts year to date, 25% of it, more than that, is those orders. I guess quite a bit more than that because I'm bad at math. So here's the way, the kind of framing of it. And by the way, I'm just going to read this. It's what I say. I'm happy to copy and paste this. I'll send it out. I'll put it in the group me, whatever you want. But basically, once I've gone through my normal business pitch, I just kind of throw this out. I'll say, hey, we even have customers that give our larger sets away as luxury gifts to their most important business relationships. Now, people spend a fortune buying box seats for football games, taking people on trips, doing concert tickets. Shoot, my region manager rented out a whole restaurant recently in Houston just to wine and dine their top performers. It was really great. Thank you, Lloyd, King Lloyd. And so, I literally just say, obviously most people aren't spending, $2,000 to $4,000 on every customer or every employee. But for people that my clients want to make the biggest impression on, it just makes sense. It just makes sense. They're already spending a lot of money just on signature experiences or really doing something memorable. And they love using Cutco for that because they get to have that experience over and over and over and over again. They're getting 200 impressions a year, 500 impressions a year. The whole family is involved. And it's just every time they use this stuff, they just think about you with gratitude. And it's just such a wow gift. I mean, look at this thing. It's absolutely beautiful. And so, from there, guys, it's just a fishing expedition. You just throw it out there. Like that did not, me saying that didn't take away anything from the 2-piece set I'm selling. It didn't take away anything from anything else I'm doing. I had a customer at the stock show that bought 3 signature sets and 10 lockbacks. And by the way, the reason I got it is because I sold them 2 signature sets on Family Program. Thank you again, Curtis. And then we got them to add an extra signature set for their general manager. And then we got them to add the lockbacks on as well. And so all these programs can weave together. I love how Philip talked about that. This is not an either or. It's a yes and. It really is. When you throw it out there, guys, they do one of 2 things. They do one of 2 things, okay? They either say, oh my gosh, there's no one that I like that much, okay? Or there's no one that important to me. Just some version of that. Or they tell a story of what they did. Because you just sort of painted that picture. And I had a customer like, oh my God, we bought tickets to the National Football Championship game and we spent a freaking fortune. And then the guy dropped our account. I had a customer tell me that. I was like, oh, that hurts. That hurts. I go, but you know what? It's cheaper to appreciate people than replace people. So I still love that you did that. I still love that you made the effort. And they're like, yeah, thank you. And it just validated what they were doing. But I just connected it to something that they were already doing. Guys, even if they're not interested in luxury gifts, when I had that story about them going to the national championship game, guess what story I tell to other customers? That story. I didn't have to sell to them. Now I just have that story banked where I'm like, oh my gosh, they spent $25,000 buying all this stuff, taking them to this game. A lot of people invest heavily in their most important relationships. Guys, think about Vector. We're a big company. We're a very big company. We're not that big a company, okay? We're not billions and billions and billions of dollars big. Who here has won a Rolex through the company? Did that cost more than an Ultimate set? One more, raise them higher one more time. How many luxury watches? Oh my God. Guys, think about that. Is it that weird to think that is a one-off thing for the most important business relationships that they would spend a couple $1,000s? Is that weird to you? Is it weird that Vector does it? And by the way, if you do think it's so weird, give us your watch back. Okay? No, you should understand that it's worth it. It's not a common thing, but there's more of that out there than you realize. You just have to help it make sense, and you have to say it without blinking. You have to have ironclad confidence when you go through it. So guys, here's the last thing. One of the Ultimates I sold earlier this year, it was to Bennett Construction, and I had so much fun because the guy literally just goes, there's no one I would spend that kind of money on. I would never do that. And I literally go, damn, that sucks. And he goes, what do you mean? I went, my company bought me a Rolex. And he looks at me, he's like, well, maybe I should sell knives. I'm like, maybe your employees should sell knives. By the way, I have rapport with them, okay? They've been with me for a few years. And I just laughed and I go, do you know why they bought me a Rolex? And he's like, why? And I go, because I make them a ton of money, they appreciate what I do, and I would be very hard to replace. So I told him. And I go, and truthfully, I don't believe you that you don't have people in your life and business that are that important to you, but that doesn't mean you have to get them Cutco. And I just shrugged. And this guy looks at me and he goes, damn it. And we sold him an Ultimate set. Guys, luxury gifts don't have to be the move, but they should be a move. And I think this is something we're gonna crack more and more. I can't wait this fair season to see what like Josh does this with this, and Bert and Calvin and Steven and like people are gonna crack this in a way I never have. But just keep in mind, everything I do, I learned from Joseph, I learned from Kelly, I learned from Andy, I learned from Philip. You guys learned from me, figure it out so you're on stage this time next year.
Give it up for Brian. I need a swap. That was dead. That was crazy. I do also have a couple of clients that I touch base with them every 2 or 3 months, and they're only getting one gift, but guess what it is? An Ultimate set. And it's awesome. And it's really easy, and it's a good relationship with them. And after you do that a couple times, man, it's such a needle mover. So thank you so much for sharing those stories, Brian. Next up, we're going to bring back up Kelly, and we're going to talk about closing at the booth. And Kelly, I just have a question for you. What are some signs that an order could be closed at the booth?
Ooh, yeah, good one. By the way, man, I've been thinking too small. I'm thinking about 1, 2, 3-piece sets, and Brian's like, are you selling them Ultimate sets for their clients? That was awesome. Okay, so some signs that an order could be closed at the booth. So kind of the questions that I was going through earlier with you guys, kind of in the approach. You notice it's an approach, but it's also questions. I'm getting information from them, right? So as long as we've got answers to everything, as long as the decision maker is in front of you. And again, the reason we ask, is there anybody else? Because a lot of times they're like, oh yeah, I'm the decision maker, but I have a business partner who, we would need to run this by. Or, oh, we have a marketing person, right? So if the decision maker or makers are right there in front of me and there's nobody else we really need to consult, then that is a sign that we could potentially close something here at the booth, okay? If they're answering all of my questions, in the affirmative, we know kind of what gift set they like. And sometimes people know right away. Sometimes we have to work through it. That's my job, right? But if we're kind of getting to the end and we've figured everything out, we know how many they like, we know how many they do, we know what colors they like, we know what gift sets they do. I've explained, just how we can set up the payment so they know they're not paying 20 grand right now. We can break it up. Okay, so that means we can potentially close an order here at the booth. Now, the key is to set the right expectations with customers and to kind of set up the environment about what is supposed to happen in this interaction. Because I worked a show, the one industry show a year I worked with Philip and Katie Haney, and it was the end of the first day, and Katie and Philip had been closing orders left and right. And I was at like $800. And I was like, what am I doing? Everybody's just like, this sounds awesome. I love it. Can I have a card? Can you send me some information? I'm like, no, you're supposed to buy now. And I thought that it was the customers that were just not buying from me. But in reality, I was not setting the proper expectations. Because this is a show that business owners show up to and they wander around and they look at cool trends in the industry and designs and they're networking and they're exchanging information. Nobody's pulling out credit cards and just buying stuff, right? This is not a buying atmosphere, okay? Now, at the show, you're talking about their business. And again, most business owners, how are they used to doing business? Let's exchange cards, send me an email, we'll follow up on this later. Most B2B sales cycles are like months or years, right? That's just what they're used to. So it's important, it's our job to explain to them what is supposed to happen at the end of this interaction and to set that tone. So here is what I say to do that. Obviously, we want to create urgency for the show that we're at, okay? But I also want them I want it to be low key. I want them to know that we can still exchange cards and follow up later if that's really where they're at, if they're not comfortable buying today. But I kind of want to give them the impression of we can do this order at any time and follow up later. But here's why it just makes sense for you to do it now, right? That's kind of what I'm wanting to get across. So here's what I say, okay? Now, the reason that so many people are placing their business gift orders here at the show is because we're having some amazing home and garden show specials just for business gift clients. Now, we can certainly exchange business cards and follow up on this later. But if this is something you like, something that fits in the budget, and something you think you're probably going to do down the road anyway, it just saves us both the hassle of all the back and forth calls and emails over the next few months to do it now and save you some money. Plus, you get locked in to our bulk discount rates for any orders you place in the future too. Do you want me to show you the specials we have going on here at the Home and Garden Show? So what have I done? I've said, hey, we can certainly follow up on this later, but I have established the pain point that every business owner knows of all the conversations they have currently floating around in their inbox, back and forth calls and months, and we're gonna drag this out. So I've said, hey, we have all the information. We know exactly what you want. We know how many. We know the colors. Do you wanna just do this now? Because we'll save you some extra money and just kind of save us the hassle of that back and forth, right? And the extra special deal, guys, the specials we have at the home show, can be whatever you want it to be. It can be an extra $100 in free Cutco for their kitchen. If they don't have Cutco, I highly recommend you putting Cutco in their kitchen, so that's a good one. It could be that they get bumped up to the next quantity, right? So if they're ordering 25 gifts, they actually get the pricing at 50 gifts if they order here at the show, so it's a lower cost per unit. It could be, oh, they're already getting a signature set, so we're gonna do a bundle deal by doing the signature set with a business gift order and save them more money on both, okay? But create urgency and give them a reason to buy here. So that is why it makes sense to get it now instead of us kicking this can down the road. And if there's obviously some external thing, another person we need to follow, that needs to be involved, obviously that's gonna make it harder to close an order here. But if you have the decision maker in front of you and you've figured everything out and they like the idea of this and you create urgency and give them an extra deal, then they're probably gonna order while they're there, right? And you can handle any objection that comes up if they're not.
Man, that was awesome. Y'all give Kelly a round of applause. She basically did the pilot program and just didn't put a name to it, but the pilot program is something that's been very powerful for us at the events over the last couple of years, and I don't know who came up with it, so I can't give credit, but the pilot program is really cool. When you're at an industry event, she handled that. You're coming off the top, explaining this is not a buying environment, all that good stuff. But let's say you're at a residential event, and you're talking to somebody about the gifts, and you already know they're going to say something like, yeah, email me or whatever, all that good stuff. And let's say that you're coming into the close and you feel like they might be interested, but they're about to give you that objection of, hey, just send me something or email me later or whatever. What I like to do is I go, hey, by the way, and I look down and I'm like, it doesn't look like you brought your list with you. Most people, by the way, they don't bring their list of people they want to give gifts to, or you may not even know how many you want to give out. And you definitely didn't come to the fair today to buy business gifts. You guys are out hanging with your family. You guys are just chilling, right? But it seems like this is something that you might be interested in, that might bring a lot of value to your business. Am I right? Of course, yeah, that sounds good. Okay, cool. Well, if you want, I can totally email you. We can go back and forth for the next 3 to 6 months, and maybe we work together, maybe we don't. But if you want, we have a really cool program we do at the event, and we have some cool specials going on just for this event. We have this thing called our pilot program, and it's meant for people just like you who didn't expect to buy gifts at the booth today, but maybe you want to try the program out. And the pilot program really sings true, and it rings a bell with a lot of business owners because it just makes sense. and you go, can I show you what the pilot program is? And they tell you, yeah, you can show me what that is. And then you go in on the pilot program, you say everything Kelly just said, and say, hey, you don't have to start off with like a couple hundred gifts. We can start with a small batch just to get you guys started. So I'm just curious. I know you don't have your list with you, but about how many gifts would you give if you did give gifts? Are we looking at like over or under 100? And that's usually a good starting point for me. And they're like, oh, definitely under, definitely over. And then I know where to go from there. Okay, so are we talking like 20, 30, 50, 75? And then they're like, just like Kelly said earlier, oh, he just needs like an approximation. They pick a number. Oh, we have like 14 employees that we might give these to. And now we went from them not having a list and don't know at all what they've got just by me asking a couple more questions. Now I know they've got 14 employees they want to give gifts to. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to figure out some type of deal to offer them on the spot, and this is just a closing thing, to make it make sense for them to get it that day. Maybe that's you give them $100 in free Cutco for themselves. Maybe that's buy 13, get one free, or you bump them up a price break. That right there is up to you, but that's how you introduce the pilot program to where it just makes a lot of sense for them to go ahead and get it right then and there at the event. The next thing we're going to talk about, I'm going to go ahead and cover it, is follow-up. There is a drop-down cycle with business gifts, just like with knives. Like you start with the ultimate, drop down to ulti with tables, Siggy with steak, Siggy with table. Maybe you do a deal, whatever. Business gifts is the same thing. You're going to start off with whatever you guys start with. Let's say you're looking at they want 50 gifts, and obviously you want to try to close the big order at the booth if you can. But let's say for whatever reason you can't. What's the next thing in the process? You're going to offer a deal. If that doesn't work, you're going to introduce the pilot program. Hey, we can start off with a small batch, and if you want more later, we could definitely add that on, and we're going to lock in your pricing for the rest of the year. So can I show you what the pilot program is? You go into that. Maybe they buy it, maybe they don't. Let's say they don't. What's the next thing? Let's say they were looking at maybe they want to start with 10, but that was a little bit out of the budget or is more than they wanted to spend that day. Then you go, hey, we don't normally do this, but if you want, we can start with 5 gifts today. And the reason I say 10 and 5 is the pricing sheet that we use, the PPSI pricing and BGS pricing. It starts at 10, so this is me being congruent with the price sheet, okay? And I say, hey, what if we just started with 5? Like, this is all it would be. This is only this much today. Like, just to get started on the program and to try it out, would you be open to just starting with 5? And if they say no to that, then I'm going to drop down to what? A sample. Hey, we have a sample program where you guys can actually buy 1 unit of whatever you're looking at, and you don't have to buy 10 or 20 or anything like that. We could just get 1. I can have it shipped straight to your office. That way you and your team or you and your people can look at it, and then I'll touch base with you after you get it and see if you guys want to get more. Okay, here's how much a sample is. Would you want me to show you what that looks like? Let's say they say yes. I sell a ton of samples that way. Then the drop down is if they're like, no, I don't really want a sample. It's like, hey, I'll tell you what. I really like investing in my customers and my future customers for sure. So if I were to do something for you and invest in the relationship, let's say I were to buy that knife for you, I'll put your logo on it and I'll ship it to you, just to invest in a relationship. That way you have something to look at, your guys can look at it and we can talk about it later. Would that help? Like, would that help in the process? And they're gonna tell you right then, either, hey, don't do that, I'll just buy it, or they'll say, yeah, that would be great. I would appreciate that. And then I'm going to buy them a sample if I feel like it's a good enough opportunity. Or, and this is a gold nugget right here, the people who are actually not interested at all will say, no, you don't have to do that. Or, no, don't buy me a sample. Because most people aren't going to let you spend money on a potential order if they know in the back of their head they're actually not even interested. They're just too nice to say no. That's my process, okay? Somewhere in there, you want to try to get their information. As soon as somebody says, hey, can you email me something? I'm like, yeah, for sure. And I abort mission. I go straight to my iPad, which goes into the next section. I've got a Google form set up with all the questions I want to know about the customer and an open-ended note session. So I could take multiple notes that maybe, I'm just learning in conversation with them. And I'm capturing all the leads there as soon as they say, hey, can you send me an email or something? I do that with business clients because no matter what at this point, if they buy today or not, I've got all their information. So if they walk away on me, I can reach out to them later. What it also helps me do when I'm getting a lead like that is I'm going to say something to the effect of, hey, yeah, for sure, I'll send you an email. Give me your, let me grab your name, email, phone number, all that stuff. I get that, and I get down to my notes. And I say, hey, just so I'm not, sending you a bunch of random stuff, because we have a lot of options, what were you kind of looking at so I can narrow that down for you? Walls are lowered, the barrier's down, and they're like, well, we were thinking about this. Now they've given you exactly what they were looking at, or around about what they were looking at, and you can move back over into closing and try to get that closed on the spot. And I would say probably half of my orders I closed at the booth, or I got the lead, I figured out some more info, and then I moved over and back up to, hey, let me see if we can do something like this and close it today. As far as organizing the leads, I wanted to ask the group, anybody that might want to, just share some input on how you organize your leads. Because I think a lot of us, it's kind of crazy. We've got stuff written down or in our calendar, in our notes. Maybe we texted the customer, but we never took any notes. Does anybody want to chime in on organizing your leads?
Sure. I want to echo everything that they said, and he just also mentioned about, I'll come over here. Yeah. That he just mentioned about trying to close it at the booth. The reality is that sometimes there's many situations where it can't happen that way, and you just don't want to lose that lead. And there's many instances like that. We could probably, as much as you can sell and close at the booth, you could also sell that after. So don't forget about collecting all those leads and as much information as you can, because I would say probably most of the higher numbers that I have are also follow up. So, but couple things about organizing the leads that makes it easy. One is, again, I'm gonna bring back that notepad. You guys wanna get this and make it your best friend. It has all the questions that you need that's going to help you with the follow-up conversation. You also want to write down any type of notes, things that are really personal, maybe connection from the conversation you had with the person at the booth. If you know me, for me it's all about relationships. It's not really script. I'm more about having a conversation with people and just really get them to connect the dots of why we're doing this and how it's going to happen, whether they buy it now or later. It's just a matter of time. But as far as organizing the leads, I get the information, super simple, put it on my database, send it to my assistant. And I would say I organize it by source, so where I got the lead from, because that again connects the dots when you have the conversation later, and also the status. So depending on the conversation, maybe it's basically an initial call where it was a very fast lead, and so I have to say, hey, basically initial call, there's nothing that's happened really, but they gave me their card, they have some interest. But then I have different basically opportunities in my database where when I do my follow-up to 2 to 3 days during the week, I can go straight into that opportunity. So is it the person that's a first-time call? Is it somebody to follow up? So I try to organize the status of where they're at, because it just makes you also more motivated to do it. I think one of the big reasons why people don't follow up, it's because they're not organized. So they're all over the place. Oh my gosh, I don't know, where are those leads, where's that information? So I try to do it from the beginning to make it easier on me.
Awesome, thank you so much. One thing that I wanted to add as a golden rule, and real quick, let's give Andy a round for covering that. Man.
I get the boring stuff.
No, it's really good.
I'm
really
the
good
adult,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, dude, you killed it. Andy's one of the godfathers of gifting, so we appreciate you being up here. One of the golden rules I shared yesterday at a roundtable is the book that he has with the business gift questions is awesome. I have that. I just created a Google form with the same questions. So I don't think it's as important how you do it. It's just that you do it consistently and everything's in one spot. That's the most important thing. And obviously there's some specific questions you want to ask that when you go look at this book on Vector Connect and order it, it's going to be there. The questions are all there for you to know basically the quantity and, 1 to 5 or 1 to 3, however you want to rank their interest and, what's the budget. All those things are important. But the main thing is that when you do collect leads, you have some type of golden rule like I do. If they're a lead for me, it goes into my Google form, no matter what. So if they hand a card and they try to run away, hey, just reach out to me later. I'm like, hey, cool, real quick. And then I fill out my Google form and ask the questions I need to know. Because if I know if it doesn't get there, it's going to get lost somewhere and I can't follow up properly. So thank you so much, Andy, for that. And then lastly, actually, Andy, if you'll come back up, I wanted to ask, killing it. Getting the steps in today, right? He started us off, he's gonna end us off. So Andy, want to talk about piquing interest at the booth. What questions do you ask customers to gauge or pique interest at the booth? And what are some good follow-up questions to find out what the opportunity is?
So I know I kind of started talking about this a little bit. The biggest thing is I do ask the basic questions because obviously the more information you have, the better it is. So the boring questions like what industries are you in? And then when I don't know about the industry, because we talked about this, sometimes you don't, right? Obviously, if you're doing like dental or roofing or construction, it's so much actually easier. But sometimes you get like a pharmacy development company, like some random things. And what I love to do is to kind of ask them, like, hey, so how does that work? I love having things that like make them give me more information so I can actually connect the dots for them and keep asking questions. So what industry are you in? How does it work if I don't know about it? How long have you been in the industry? And then I can connect the dots from their answer. And that's one of the things that I focus a lot is like getting people to understand that I'm actually paying attention to them. I'm not just trying to like vomit on them. I'm just trying to actually connect with them and really show them how what we do can benefit their company, their business, their relationships. How did they get involved in the business? Like, I love asking that question. Sometimes they inherit it. Sometimes there's something that happens, and just pay attention because they might say something like, oh, somebody referred me. Oh, okay, so how long have you known that person? How did that happen? Sometimes you don't have time for that. But when you do, take the time to connect those dots because they might tell you exactly, and then you can turn into a luxury gift. That happens all the time, where you saw that ultimate set. I've done that too. Another boring question, right? Do you give clients to employees or referral gifts? Prospects. I love asking people, so do you do any prospecting for your gift? Check out this one that a lot of my customers do, and I have a couple of those samples, people that like actually use it as a prospect, that use with gratitude or thank you for carving some time. All the kind of things that can pique their interest a lot of times comes from the engraving that you have on the board. And another boring question, right? Do you do it at the end of the year? Do you do it after each project? How much you typically spend? You guys kind of know that. I want to take a second on this one because I think as much as we can get people to spend more money, meeting them where they're at will help you sell a lot more business gifts. That's the reality. Like, get them to exactly where they're at. If they tell you, like, oh, we spent about $100, all right, let's show them that. And then kind of what Philip was saying, you can always bring them back up at some point and try to do like a different tiered gifts, but meet them where they are to get their interest, to get them comfortable, and then like ask for more, just like everything else, right? I like asking people, like, what type of engraving do you like from like what you saw here? That kind of like makes them more interested, like gets them involved at the booth. And I love doing that. Do you like the logo? Check out that personalization. Check out this like really funny quote that somebody put on there. Which gift set do you prefer? Like get to see their reaction. Pay attention, listen, but also look at their reaction. Some of my follow-up questions that I think I've enjoyed is deeper into a conversation. It's like, what's your favorite client? Like, what does that look like? Like, who's your favorite client? That helps sell also, like get them to, once somebody figures out that they want to do the gifting, you can take them to the next level. So who are your average clients? And do you do any tiered gifts? And one of the questions that is a dangerous question, but it is good to do because you get into that pain point. How did it go the last time you did this gift, like when they tell you whatever they've done in the past.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andy.
Round of applause again.
Perfect timing, too. I've got a quick 30 seconds to recap some of my notes and takeaways. First takeaway I had was get a 3-piece display. Helps you start higher, sell higher, the whole thing that Matt went over yesterday. Start with the Ultimate, you get to sell more bigger sets. Next one was blue collar samples. Make sure you have more of those industries. That's a lot of the people that we're going to be talking to at these events, and they're small businesses, decision owners, or decision makers there. Use existing display pieces as opportunities to display. Go ahead and start replacing your vegetable knife, your cleaver, your spreader, your trimmers, your hunting and fishing items. I just redid my whole hunting kit, and every single one of them have an engraving on them now, some type of logo or maybe a text engraving. So the next one would be pilot program. Make sure you're framing a buying environment. That was really good from Kelly. Stay organized with your leads. Again, how you take the leads is not as important, whether it's digital or on paper. It's just that it's all in the same spot and that it's organized to where you can follow up later. Be vulnerable. Ask questions. If you don't know the answer, just ask the question. People will tell you the answers. That's how we all communicate. Make sure you get people involved in the booth. Back in the day when I was a manager, I used to tell my reps, hey, visualize what set are they buying, a signature set, what color handles are they buying? You can do that with your customer. Hey, if you were to get something, like what would you get? And what color handle would you get? And we can kind of make them envision as if they already have the gifts. That was really good. Act as if they're buying. And then who's your favorite client? Getting that conversation started. That could be good for 1 or 2-piece gifts, and it could also lead you into some of the luxury gifts like Brian talked about earlier. Guys, this is a freaking powerhouse. Let's give them one more round of applause. We appreciate you guys. Y'all have a good day.